Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
Ocala, baby, what makes you look so good? Ocala, baby, what makes you look so good? Why don't you love me like I know you could?
All right. I think she does love you. That's what I think. I don't see a bone in your body that doesn't love. You're a loving person.
I am a loving person.
And an effervescent loving person.
And I love Ocala.
You love Ocala?
No doubt about that.
Yeah. Kelli Hart is here. That's who you hear right there. And Kelli is the executive editor of Ocala magazine. Plus, she writes for the magazine. I never know the difference between things. It's kind of like in radio. You're the producer. What does it mean? It means I'm pushing a button. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, good morning, Kelli. How
Good
you doing?
morning. Happy Friday the 13th.
It is Friday the 13th.
It sure is. Yes, it is.
Are you superstitious?
No, not one bit. But it's just fun.
I bet you are. I bet that there's something. Do you say things and say knock on wood afterwards?
Not really.
No? Okay.
No,
Do you not say things because you're afraid you'll jinx it?
No, I don't think so.
Nothing at all. Not even the slightest thing, huh?
I mean, sometimes I'll have this weird bad thought, and I don't know if it's just a thing I do or maybe it's a thing mothers do, but where we think through every situation that concerns our child, and so
Probably
gosh,
a good thing. That's not superstition, though.
Right, but then I start thinking, am I thinking it up? Because if you put something out into the universe, so they say if you put it out into the universe. So I'm like, reel it back in.
But
I don't want to
know if
put
I
any
believe
bad
that,
things into the universe.
How many things have happened that you didn't put out into the universe?
I don't know. I mean, how many things happen because they're just going to happen? So it's
Right.
You just wake up and you.
And what is
try
the
your
message?
best.
And what is the real message of your religion, of God, of at least of Christianity? Is have faith.
Absolutely.
Stop worrying. Have faith.
Absolutely.
There you go.
That's what you try to do. So I'm not really a superstitious person, but I do. Because
you're worried that your thoughts will make bad things happen.
Sure. So positive thoughts, positive out, hopefully positive back. So, but maybe not. Who knows?
Have you ever seen these things that you could hear somebody's thoughts? Have you ever seen those things? You put them on your head, and supposedly you could.
Oh yeah, supposedly, yeah. I don't know for a fact that
I don't know
that kind
either.
of stuff is true. It's like fortune tellers and tarot cards and all of those kinds of things. I mean, everyone has their thing and their beliefs, and I try not to judge because I don't know. People, what do you believe in ghosts? Well, I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a ghost, but I know there was a night, really late one night at Ocala magazine where myself and Phil, one of our graphic designers, we had gone upstairs for coffee, and we both had this like weird kind of a swoosh thing happen by the side of our head at the same time.
Oh, really?
And we looked at each other like, did you feel that? Yes. Did you feel that? Yes. So are we crazy?
Oh, wow. That's
Maybe?
cool.
Or
Maybe it
did
was a
something
bat
cool
or a
happen?
moth.
I mean, who knows? But it's one of those things.
Did you hear the story about the little girl who was alive in an upside-down car in Utah? The car had crashed like 15 hours earlier. The 25-year-old mom was dead. When the rescue workers got to the car, all 4 of the rescue workers said they heard a female voice saying, "Help us."
I read something about that on Facebook.
And the woman was not alive. My thinking, maybe she was maybe that was when
Maybe
she
it was her
died.
last words. Maybe, I mean, who knows? That's why I never really want to say never to anything.
Yeah,
because,
right.
I mean, even ghosts. Christians believe in the Holy Ghost, right? So
right.
So I mean, so it's all. Everybody should be allowed to believe in the things that they want. So Friday the 13th is just kind of fun because it comes around, but every so often.
How come
and all
last
the cool
month we
movies.
didn't think about it? Last month it was a Friday the 13th, remember?
Was there?
Yeah. 28 days means that February has the same days as the numbers.
Right, and I think I read somewhere if a month begins on a Sunday, it will have a Friday the 13th.
Okay,
So-
that would make sense.
Yeah, so I don't keep track of my months and on what days do they begin or end or anything like that. But it's just kind of fun. So maybe tonight there'll be all the Friday the 13th movies on TV. I'm sure.
Well, we have a Friday the 13th trivia thing later with Joe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We'll see. So there you go. So it's a fun time to kind of capitalize on the whole Friday the 13th concept. So I know that you have not seen the new issue yet, so I brought one for you to see, and I know they're in your lobby. It's a gorgeous issue. A lot of really, really interesting topics, a lot of wedding-specific topics. We talked about last time I was here planning for this issue, and now it is finally here. And today I want to talk about one of the features that I wrote, and it's called Like a Girl, so hashtag Like a Girl. You know, hashtags are kind of the thing now. So during the Super Bowl, and I don't know if you saw this commercial, but it was actually an Always feminine product commercial, and there was a lady who produced this commercial. Her name is Lauren Greenfield, and what she did was she called men and women of all varying ages into a studio, and including children, and she said, okay, show me what it looks like to fight like a girl, or throw
I've seen this
like
video.
a girl.
Yeah, right.
And so, you'd see the people, they'd be like, like this kind of like real, like a lame toss,
right.
giggly.
She made a really good point.
Right. And so the point is that there's this belief, which is a very negative belief and untrue belief, that to do anything like a girl means to do it I don't know,
Good point.
less than men,
right.
with fear, with hesitation, etc. So the interesting thing was in watching that, I was so moved by it, being a woman and having a daughter myself, that I immediately went to Instagram and looked at the hashtag, and of course it was just within seconds it was just growing.
Right.
And this wasn't the actual debut of the project, but it was the opportunity to capture a huge audience, including a male audience, to really drive home this concept that, hey, we're out there kicking butt. We're giving you guys a run for your money. Oftentimes we're far surpassing you in what we are doing in the world. So it was just really awesome. So I went to Instagram and I'm looking at all the hashtags, and I ended up even posting a picture of Lily in her swim gear that Chris Redd had taken with her arms crossed, and she looked real real professional swimmer type thing, and hashtagged Like a Girl, so that Lily would kind of just be a part of that movement. And so we got to talking about it, and Chris had this great idea that we should elaborate on the concept and write a feature. And I thought that's an excellent idea. So that's really what we did. So we have a feature in this month's book called Like a Girl, and so I took Lauren Greenfield. I actually reached out to her, and through email was able to correspond a little bit with her husband. She was out of the country, and so he would have to be the liaison between the questions I was asking and her answers. Right. But it was still really cool that I had that opportunity for her to respond to the idea of writing this story. And so I laid out the concept and the thoughts behind it, and it was just really awesome, especially, like I said, because I have a daughter, I want her to believe that she has the power and ability to do anything. And so there's the concept, and then there's our story, and we reached out to girls in the community, women and girls of all ages, and got them involved, and we took some really awesome pictures. I don't know if you've seen the issue yet,
I don't think I've seen it. But you know what it says to me, Kelly? It says to me, once again, that freedom of the press and talented writers in our world, in our country, I should say, are constantly trying to make life better for the people who live here.
Right.
I mean, we've had our share of mistakes. We've come a long way. The general idea in the beginning was to have equality among everybody, regardless of who you are, what you are, where you came from, what your race is, it doesn't matter. And we still have a little way to go. So every time there's another little shortfall that we're not quite coming up to the bar that that was set by the Founding Fathers. Even the Founding Fathers didn't come up to the bar.
Right.
So something like that helps equalize, again, make us better as a country.
Sure.
But meanwhile, you have these other countries that hate us.
Right.
And keep they hate certain religions, they hate certain races, they hate women.
Oh, sure.
Did you see there was one, you got to see this. I'll share it with you. There was a female reporter, like one of these Arabic countries, and she was just a sharp woman, and you had to read the subtitles because it wasn't in English. And she was talking to this sheik guy, and she asked him a question, and he's kind of going around about trying to get and she's trying to get him to be more concise so she can get to the next question.
Sure.
And so she tries to explain this to him. And then he says, this is beneath me to even talk to a woman in the first place. And then she cuts him off. And she says to the camera, I control this show, not him. Done.
Fabulous.
Whoever he was off
Absolutely.
the air. And I'm guessing that the viewers of that TV in that country that keeps women down under their thumb.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's a shame.
They probably cheered it, I would hope.
Well, I mean, everybody has their beliefs, and I know cultures are very much different, but I know here in America that is absolutely uncalled for. And sometimes it is hard to find a balance, because even in writing this, there was a lot of discussions about women's lib and my personal beliefs about equality and things of that nature. And my parents have been married for a long, long time, and they still have very traditional roles in their marriage. And so I've adopted a lot of those concepts. And so in my relationships, I have this belief that traditional roles actually work. And sometimes it's debatable, amongst my friends, the idea of, I don't see anything wrong with women agreeing to do the laundry and the household chores and the guys doing all the lawn work and taking out the garbage. Those are traditional roles that I saw growing up. But even something as simple as saying that, you're often met with, a lot of resistance and people saying that's absolutely untrue. Men should do their laundry, and why can't a woman, and I get that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that has to apply in every situation. I mean, sometimes it's nice being the lady and knowing that a gentleman will help you and do the things that are still, I think.
But I mean, to be honest, I'm not married, so this doesn't happen. But if I was, and I saw my wife out there with a lawnmower because I was taking a nap, I would get up and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was going to do that." I would feel bad.
Right,
and
as would any gentleman, I would.
Yeah, you would think.
Anyways.
I mean, it would be basically her telling me, "I'm sick and tired of waiting for you to do this."
Right, absolutely. And that is not at all, of course, the focus of the article. The focus of the article is to give respect to women that are competing in a traditionally male-dominated type world, and respect them for doing so, and to treat them with equality, because...
Now, do you meet it? Gosh, I have a very... probably a dead-on question for you,
Okay.
but I don't know how you're going to respond to it.
Okay,
You are a woman, but you're also a pretty woman.
Okay, thanks.
And sometimes I think pretty women are actually discriminated against more than somebody who's not so pretty. I don't know if you've experienced that or not. Have you?
I don't...
I mean, because we have this notion that if you're pretty, you must not be smart.
Right.
Which
Yes.
is crazy.
Yes. And you hear that, oh, well, you don't really necessarily need to be smart. Or, well, with looks like that, you're a shoo-in, and things like that. And so it's frustrating, because you would like to think that you're being judged and measured by your behavior and by your integrity.
Do you get it from both sexes, though? Do you get it from women
nature.
as well as men?
I think it's worse in women. I think more so because if a woman is, if she's not quite as attractive, or, instead of just appreciating the fact that, we all have choices in the morning when we get up, how we're going to present ourselves, how we're going to take care of ourselves, the things that we're going to do for our lifestyle to try to be as attractive and youthful as we can for as long as we can. But sometimes it's almost like there's underlying jealousy, and rather than just saying, I'm super jealous because you're pretty, you're tall, you're whatever, it just kind of manifests itself in an outward hate, and then
Have you ever had it
really ugly.
affect you in your work? I mean, as far as not getting a job or getting a different position because they thought, well, this would be best for you?
Well, I don't think so.
Did you have that in school where the teachers or guidance counselors were trying to steer you in a direction that you were clearly letting them know was different than what you wanted?
I don't think so. I mean, I've never felt that way. I mean, as an adult person, I've owned my business more so than I've worked for someone else. And of course, right now, I mean, I work for a woman, so I think
a nice woman, right?
An absolutely excellent woman. And, obviously that didn't come into play. She needs professional team players, and I don't think that I was hired for any reason other than she felt like I could do the best job possible.
Right.
So, but I'm sure that it's out there. I'm sure if I worked in some corporate world where I was in a cubicle with a bunch of men and a bunch of women, and I had to wear tailored suits and heels.
So I'm very much in agreement with everything you're saying. But as I scan my brain real quickly to see if there are any exceptions, I find some. So I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you where I'm sexist. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
The military. I don't want women on the front lines.
Okay. Why?
Because I don't know. I just don't. I don't have a logical explanation. I just don't want it. I understand if you want to join the army and you want to be sent into war, that I shouldn't be the one who says you shouldn't be allowed to. That doesn't make sense. and I understand it doesn't make sense, but I don't want it.
Right. No, I mean, in one of the ladies that we featured in here is a police officer, Jessica Grimes. And I mean, these pictures are really, really great. And they'll be online as well throughout the month. But, we had a conversation, not Jessica and I, but in reference to Jessica, and we were talking about police officers and, how people usually feel a lot safer if they think a male police officer is going to show up to a scene where they need help of some sort.
Right.
And in a perfect world, if men and women were at their best, physical, I guess, physique or whatever you would want to call it, without being touchy, maybe that there would be some truth in that. But I mean, if you weigh in all the other factors, I mean, if you look at some police officers, I'm not so sure that man is going to outrun that woman, if you know what I mean. I think you have to just factor in.
Sure,
that,
yeah, and the gun and the taser really level things out a lot.
Things out, yes. And
well, in New York City, they used to have a height requirement, and there were no women at all. I don't know they were not allowed. Mm-hmm. Well, they weren't on the streets. Put it this way, and guys had to be tall. My dad was one of them. But if you go there now, you could be in Times Square in the middle of the busiest day, whatever.
Right.
And there's some little lady, a little pretty lady, walking around with her uniform on. You think, oh my goodness, where's the guy who's protecting her? Right. She needs a policeman.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see, I always try to look at everything from all different angles because, of course, I'm going to have my own personal beliefs and bias, and then I'm trying to write in a neutral way, and then I'm also trying to see it from the other side because it's easier sometimes to write things when you really play devil's advocate. And because if someone reads something I've written, obviously, I want to prepare for any possible question or thought that could come my way. And I understand that, in general, men are stronger. That's just in general. That's, if you pulled select people, could that be different? Yes, absolutely. But in general, men are stronger, and there are jobs that probably require a lot more strength, and we feel a little more comfortable with men doing those.
Did you hear the quote
jobs.
that Jane Fonda said about men and women? She said men's role as the dominant sex is being challenged. And so now it's more dangerous than ever because now it's like prodding a beast or something like that. And I thought, what are you talking about? I mean, what is that supposed to mean? That we're so primitive that we don't have an understanding that we're wrong. We've been wrong. I'm not every guy. I mean, we're not. I don't know. We get this what's stereotype placed on us too.
Sure.
I mean, I think we're pretty understanding, most guys, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Most guys and most women make good parents.
Yes.
But there are exceptions, and the exceptions are the ones you see when you're not that. If I'm not a woman, I see the exceptions in the women because the only man I know is me.
Sure, yeah. And that's like me. The only woman I know is me, and obviously women close to me and like, my mother and sister and friends and whatnot. So there's exceptions to every rule. And we understand that. And in general, though, this idea of...
It's a great topic, by the way.
Yes, I feel absolutely like it is. And I think that just like anything else, using certain words as an insult should be brought to the forefront. People should at least be challenged on using phrases and words so effortlessly... as an insult.
Absolutely, yeah. The idea of throwing like a girl, that is kind of, and I'm glad it was pointed out.
Yeah, like, oh, well, you run like a girl. Well, what does that mean? If I'm an Olympic runner and I'm a female,
tell that to Jackie Joyner.
Pretty awesome.
Does she run like a girl?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I've seen some guys that aren't great runners.
You're looking at one.
So, so to make a blanket statement and mean it as such a disgraceful insult should stop, and that's really the point. And it's the point in most everything that we write, just really starting some dialogue. That doesn't mean you're always going to agree or even care, but just to kind of start the dialogue and bring it to the forefront, which I think is what we've done. Yeah. So I think it's really awesome.
So the police lady that you had in there, was she local?
Yes, all of the women featured in here are local. So we have Maddie Moyer is 15. And
15.
Yeah, and she's setting records in roping, and it's awesome. I mean, her list just went on and on and on. I asked them to please submit a bio with accomplishments and awards. And I mean, I had to edit it way back for the sake of space, but
Right.
all of these ladies, I mean, they've just excelled, and not just in their sport, but what's so amazing is they're out in the community doing things, and they're excelling in school and academically, and you know, they're the whole package. And I thought it was a really great opportunity to just put a spotlight on these ladies and say, hey, you know, you're giving these guys a run for their money. I mean, this little girl here, Olivia McCollum, is 8 years old. She's on an all-boys softball team as the pitcher, and
Is that right?
showing them up. You know, making mom proud, and I'm sure making everybody on the team proud. And you know, the coach made a comment in there about, you know, she's more prepared than are the boys, and you know, I don't know how they felt about that, but I think it's great. I think it's great that girls can have the type of confidence that says, you know, yeah, this might be traditionally a boys' sport, but I want to play it, and I'm going to, and I'm going to do well.
Sure, why not?
You know, so I'm going to put a
Why
little
not?
pressure on you guys to have to keep up with me at this point. So.
Right, or it should be player against player. There should be nothing
Sure.
about the gender or anything else.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, we could have honestly filled the whole book with local women who qualified for such an article. And so really just to try to spotlight different types of arenas and things of that nature, we had to narrow it. But I mean, the list just went on and on of people who were recommending awesome people in our community. I mean, this one girl here, Leslie Persocco, she's 22 years old and has played football all through MCYFL. She
Is
played
that
at
right?
Vanguard High School. She scored
wow.
a touchdown against Forest. I mean, it's, you know, with the guys.
Who knew?
With
I guess
guys.
they probably knew in the afternoon show, the sports guys.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had a female player
Yeah.
on a local high school team.
Right. Well, interestingly enough, she played freshman football at Vanguard High School, and my dad has coached freshman football at Vanguard High School for years and years and years. And so he was the head coach when she was playing.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
he said that her mother came to him and said, you know, we tried a different high school, and they just said absolutely not. But I'm willing to bring Leslie here because that's how much she really wants to play. And my dad said, he sat her down and he said, look, if Leslie wants to play because she loves football and wants to play, I have no problems with it. But if she wants to play just because she wants to be a spectacle, you know, some girl out on
Right,
the field,
right,
he goes,
right.
I'm not going to have it. I mean, number one, it's dangerous, football in and of itself, even if you're a great, you know, guy in great shape.
Right.
So we're talking about a young lady, you know, in ninth grade. And so he said, if she really wants to play, that's fine. But it's not going to be a spectacle. And she's going to be required to do everything the guys do. Other than, obviously, the locker room would be a different situation. And on the bus to away games, she had to come and sit, like, up in the front right next to my dad just because it was a bus full of, you know,
Yeah.
young adolescent men.
Right.
But besides that, I mean, everything that the guys were required to do, she was required to do right alongside them.
Oh,
so
well,
there
good
was
for
no
her.
special favors, and it was awesome. And I mean, and these are the things that we don't hear about
Well, it
as
is
much.
true. I mean,
Yeah.
what you're saying is really true. You know, last Saturday at the Strawberry Festival, there was some ballet dancers, and two of them were boys. And I mean, to my eyes, it looked like, boy, that looks a little bit weird, but doesn't it? But I mean, they were great. They really did what they were supposed
Sure.
to do. So
Right. I mean, it's kind of like cheerleading. I mean, you think of cheerleaders and you think of these, you know, girl cheerleaders in the skirts and all the kind of stuff and bopping around the field and
Right.
whatnot. And so I remember in high school, any guy cheerleaders were always kind of like poked fun at.
right, or they catapults. They're just there to hold up the girls.
Yeah. And so it was, you know, this idea of a male genuinely being enthusiastic and wanting to be a cheerleader and participate in the competitions and in the sport was almost like, yeah, well, he's either there for the girls or he's kind of funny, and it's really unfair. And it goes both ways. Just like we don't want someone to say, well, you do such and such like a girl as an insult. I can only assume that
Well,
if a
good for
guy
you.
wants
Yeah,
to
that's
dance or
really-
if he wants
yeah.
to do cheerleading or whatever it is that he may want to do, that he should be able to do it and do it well and excel at it and be respected for it.
And anybody who does those things and takes that risk, like that young girl on the football team, I mean, she's basically a role model, so that'll inspire other girls. That article that you've written will inspire somebody. You
I
know?
hope so.
Somebody somewhere will write you a letter. You know, I read that article maybe 10 years from now.
I hope so.
And they'll say, you know, I never really felt confident,
Sure.
but then I did, and now look where I am. So you'll get one of those.
And usually as long as I get one person that reaches out and says, I read your article, it inspired me in some way, I feel like, okay, job well done. So we've shared it. It's on ocalamagazine.com. We've shared it on Facebook. So please like us, like our Ocala Magazine Facebook page, where you can get all of the up-to-date digital issues, blogs, and contest information and such. And so pick up a copy. They're all over the place, and grab one while you can. It's
And how
a
much are they?
phenomenal, it's a free magazine.
Kelly, that was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See
Have
you
a great
next week.
weekend. Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Tense but calm in Ferguson, Missouri last night after the wounding of 2 police officers early yesterday.
We do not condone any violence. For 216 days, we have been nonviolent and civilly disobedient.
This as a manhunt continues.
Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward for any information about the shooter. In addition to that, the local congressmen, Lacey Clay and Emmanuel Cleaver, are offering $3,000.
Fox's Mike Tobin. In Cleveland, a judge could decide today if grand jury testimony used to indict an officer last year was tainted. Michael Brelo was indicted after 2 men were killed in a high-speed chase. It's the 2nd anniversary of Pope Francis as head of the Roman Catholic Church.
Pope Francis has made poverty and inequality central themes. His instantly famous line about gays, "Who am I to judge?" was one of the most quoted phrases in 2013, earning him Person of the Year honors.
Fox Radio's Courtney Walsh. Fox News, we report, you decide.